What's up, good people? This is your friend Chapadong coming at you with a slate rewind for Week 2 NFL DFS. I notice in the industry there isn't a lot of that, and I don't know about you, but on Monday mornings, Tuesday mornings, I look forward to getting up and recapping the slate, looking at where I went right, where I went wrong, how am I going to fix it? Was there something that I missed? Is there something that came off unpredictable? And did the predictable shit happen like it was supposed to? So let's dive in, take maybe 15, 20 minutes of your time. Not much, it doesn't take much, but just give you something for today to chew on while you're sitting in your cube at work and you're dying for some NFL content. I didn't plan on doing this. This is just something that I do usually in the mornings. I figured today, what the hell, we'll walk through and record it. When you're looking at NFL stuff, I'm looking for targets and touches and stuff. And until that data comes out, I just want a quick glancing look at what these teams did. I'm going to look at a little bit of passer rating stuff. I'm going to look at the quarterback. Did he run? Is Lamar Miller getting touches, or is he ceding touches to somebody? 18 touches, 7. Where are we at here? The Lamar Miller 3. 18 and 3 is 21. 21 touches on the day, not terrible. He's a high volume play. It just so happens his team's not very good. Andy Dalton, at least there's no interceptions today. Joe Mixon, look at how spread out these carries are. Fuck that backfield. Sorry. No can do. Can't even hit his receivers and spreading it out among 6, 7, 8 guys. That's also not good when your best guys get 3 touches and 5 touches. I don't know how many targets they got, but when what are we talking? Maybe 10 max here. And that's good, but when it only produces 5 and 67, that's not great. We don't need to spend a bunch of time on these games to kind of blow through and check the big names off of the big. Tyrod Taylor didn't rush for a touchdown. He 8 for 55. That floor is always going to get you 4 or 5 points. When he gets in for a score, that's great. But if he's not throwing for touchdowns and throwing for yards, he's not very usable. Granted, he was on the road. He plays better at home. LaShawn McCoy, 12. Where'd he go yesterday? I'm wondering if that groin didn't hobble him a little bit more. I know it's not like they were game flowed out of the game. So there might be something there. He should be the workload back. The 6 receptions for 34 yards certainly helped recover a little bit of the damage if you played him. I mean, granted, you played him in GPPs, and this kind of performance isn't going to win you a GPP, so you don't really give a crap because that's not, you weren't wanting his floor, you were wanting his ceiling and hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. Nobody else in the passing game is even worth a crap. Carolina, Cam, sorry, 20 of 32, 228, no touchdowns, no rushing. If Cam ain't running, Cam ain't on my team. Sorry, the dude is inaccurate as they come. He rifles balls over people's head. He just lost his tight end with a broken foot. It's going to be out several weeks. That's not good. People are already buzzing. Is that going to bump? Screw this offense. Get out of here. The only guy playable is Christian McCaffrey. These other guys are maybe GPP flyers at best. Get out of this offense. You might play the defense if they're home and they're favored again, but come on, guys. Use your heads. Bucks and Bears. So much for the Bucks being rusty, huh? The Bears just probably suck. We look at Mike Glennon with 2 picks that fed the Buccaneers defense. Tariq Cohen, 7 carries. Jordan Howard, 9. We've got ourselves a committee. You go down here into the receiving game and you look at Tariq Cohen, 8 catches, Jordan Howard, nothing. So, Cohen's probably the DFS relevant back while he's cheap. His price will probably skyrocket as his ownership does. I don't think it's a situation that's great for cash games because they're going to be coming from behind a lot. He's going to need to be used in the passing game, which is great for like Draftkings and whatnot. But going forward, I'm really not touching either of these guys until things shake out. Don't get in a habit of playing bad, decent players on bad teams. LaShawn McCoy is going to be a big case in point that we just showed you. A bad team with mediocre to good players isn't going to yield you a lot. Now, studs, that's maybe one thing until they get hurt. Is Tariq Cohen a stud? Too early to tell. Kendall Wright, 7 for 69. Okay, he's apparently the number 1 in that offense. He's their possession guy. We can, in game flow situations in the passing game, we can maybe look forward to a little bit of garbage time or something like that. Looks like he's going to end up being the one that draws there. The rest of these guys, kind of off of them. Buccaneers, Jameis Winston, I expected a little bit better than 18 for 30 and 200 yards. Wanted a couple of touchdowns instead of just the one. The quiz, 20 touches, got his TD. He was fantasy playable, catches a few passes out of the backfield once in a while. When Charles Sims, here's the thing, and this is what your touts were not telling you last week, and why Charles Quiz deserved a little bit of a downgrade. Charles Sims was healthy. When Charles Sims is healthy, he's a third down back. That renders Jaquiz into a 2-down back. That's why you see 19 carries. Let's see how many no targets. Wasn't used. Charles Sims is in there. Quiz gone. That should tell you going forward, he's not a PPR back. He's a little more of a standard back. And if you look at that and go, ew, yuck, man, you're out of your mind, then don't play him at all. You know, he's a little more of a fan. He's going to be a little more touchdown dependent because he's not got a reception floor when Charles Sims is healthy. Now, when Charles Sims is out and Doug Martin is out, Jaquiz is almost an all-in play when he's home and when he's favored because he's going to be used all 3 downs on the goal line and everywhere else. Make sense? These are the things you need to be thinking about. Mike Evans looks like the old Mike Evans. That's good. That's what we wanted to see. Now when we price him accordingly with the other guys, the Jordy Nelsons and the Crabtrees and the whatever, now we can start playing him in there with them. Deshaun Jackson, I thought they might force the ball to him a little bit more to get on the same page. Doesn't look like that happened. Looked like the same old Deshaun, 13-yard average target. Send him down the field and whatever. Cameron Brate wasn't used like we thought. We were hoping to just get the lucky touchdown out of him and hope Fleener flopped, but it doesn't look like that was going to work much. Looks like we've got a little bit of a tight end by committee. Don't believe the people that tell you Brate is still the guy there. Looks like they're going to put O.J. Howard into the mix. You know, you only got 3 receptions on the day. 2 went to one guy, 1 went to the other. I needed 3 for 41. 3 for 41 is 7-something points on. That would have been okay at 3K on Draftkings. You know? But when you're splitting them, tight end by committee is worse than running back by committee. Get out of it. Defense, obviously playable. Vikings, Steelers. What can we pick up on here? Oh, Case Keenum, you suck like we thought you did. Dalvin Cook, low carries, obviously. Game flowed out of it. Even though he picks up a reception here and there, you know, I mean, we still need lead back status. We need them to be favored, preferably at home when the game script's going to favor them. Otherwise, Dalvin Cook probably not anything more than a deep GPP dart throw on the road. Jerick McKinnon, no. Lats Murray, no. Sorry. Rudolph is still going to be steady. You know, what's that, 8 points or so? That's probably his floor. His ceiling's probably about 16. But, you know, you're going to get 3-4 receptions and 30 to 50 yards and maybe a touchdown out of him about every week. It looks like backup quarterbacks love their tight ends. They love their slot receivers. This is what I was telling our boys in Slack. You might keep Thielen in a couple because those backup QBs love to throw short ball control passes. They don't just come in and start chucking it. So they're not really going to be targeting Diggs. They're going to be targeting the slot guy, Thielen. 5 receptions, 44 yards. I don't know how many targets he had. 6, 7, 8 maybe. I don't know. We'll wait for those numbers to come out. Keep him on your radar, though. Ben Roethlisberger plays better at home, posted an okay day, nothing like we thought we were going to get, but, you know, hit a floor, did better than Matt Ryan probably. Le'Veon Bell, 27 carries. 27 carries. And 4 receptions. 31 touches for the Le'Veon. He's back. No, he didn't look great. No, he didn't have Le'Veon numbers, but he's getting the workload. He's going to get the workload. He's too good to stay down for long. It's time in your leagues to start buying low. Le'Veon is going to piss more and more people off, and these freaking donkeys that are in the early parts of your seasons or in your little basement church leagues that think they know DFS or think they know season-long fantasy, I'm telling you, 95% of them are stupid. That's why 80% of them lose money on DraftKings. If you want to be sharp, you look for opportunities like Le'Veon. Just keep slipping, man. Keep pissing people off, man. Le'Veon is going to be a top 5, top 3 running back by the end of the year, if not the top running back by the end of the year. So the longer his numbers stay down, the harder they're going to correct and shoot back. As long as he's getting workload. Week 1, he didn't get the workload. This week, boom, right back into the mix. It's almost as if week 1 was a punishment for, hey, you hold out, screw you, sit the bench for a little while. It wasn't probably not in game shape. It was probably coach punishment saying, you're a dick, sit down. Now, Martavis Bryant, This is what you get out of him. Big, long, deep throws, average, A dots of, 15, 20 yards and big, long runs after the catch. That's what you get. You hope, you caught yesterday. Antonio Brown, I would have liked to seen a little bit more involved, but again, game flowed back a little bit. Still got 5 for 60, not terrible. These other guys, ugh, not factors in this offense. So, moving on. I'm not going to spend time on this game. Carson Palmer looked like ass. 19 of 36, barely 50%. 1 TD, 1 pick. Yes, 332 yards because his boy J.J. Nelson busted a big one. Chris Johnson, Kerwin Williams. Guys, we knew this going in. Committee. And they said Andre Ellington was going to be the third down back. Yes, there were 20 touches among the running backs. 10 for this guy, 10 for that. Screw that. David Johnson went down, and honestly, what should have happened was Larry Fitz should have come up. J.J. Nelson, without John Brown, was cheap and was going to get targets. Now, we didn't expect 120 and a touch. It was nice he broke a big one, but we expected Larry Fitz to be. Well, it doesn't matter if Larry Fitz gets DeAndre Hopkins type targets of 10 and 12 a game if his quarterback is old, rusty, and sucks and isn't coming back. It's time to old yeller Carson Palmer's ass, put him out to pasture, and just move on. So for the foreseeable future, this whole offense is crap. If J.J. Nelson stays super cheap and John Brown stays out, he's probably the only one that I'm going to be worried about. The rest of them are unpredictable, and I don't want unpredictable in fantasy. Jacoby Brissett might have something, but, this isn't anything to write home about. Frank Gore isn't going to do that every week. These guys, look, when Jack Doyle gets 8 receptions for 80 yards, why? Backup quarterback. Backup quarterbacks love their tight ends and their possession receivers. I'm surprised Moncrief didn't get a little more out of the slot, but apparently they weren't in the red zone to give Moncrief his due. But, God. Okay, Jack Doyle, I don't know if he keeps getting 8 targets, man, he's going to be a sneaky sucker. Play him at home. If the Colts are ever favored in a game, plug him in. Take your chances. You might strike gold. There's probably more consistent guys out there. We're already spending too much time on that crappy game. Patriots Saints was the shootout we thought it would be. If you had Tom Brady, you won the slate. Pretty simple. 447 and 3. Angry Tom. Bounced back. The stat proved right again. After a game when he throws no touchdown passes or they lose or whatever, he comes back out the next week. Balls of fire. Didn't matter that he wasn't at home. He was down there in the dome in a track meet and blew them off, blew the doors off. Gillislee is going to be your LeGarrette Blount role. Do we have to say this every week? Now, we didn't expect this to be a blowout. We expected it to be a little bit more competitive. But in your blowouts, if you see some kind of 7, 8, 10-point spread, and you will see it out of New England this year, yes, Gillislee is going to be cash playable. I know everybody says don't trust New England running backs. I'm telling you, Gillislee is the one that's going to be cash playable. If you see another shootout situation, James White's not terrible. But he's in a PPR site, not a Fanduel site. Gillislee's on a Fanduel site, man. That dude is going to be probably getting 15 to 20 touches, and he'd probably be relatively cheap because it's a big old committee, and he might get a touchdown or two when they're favored, when they have massive positive game script. Look for those situations, and when they do, don't be afraid to mix some Gillislee into your lineups. Doesn't have to be rocket science, guys. Gronk, yeah, okay, sometimes he plays, sometimes he doesn't. He's pretty inconsistent these days. Good for him. Had a good day. Was way too expensive. I wasn't touching him for as volatile as he is. James White, 8 for 85. Not bad. Chris Hogan, 5 for 78. Had a touchdown. The rest, whatever. Cook's in a revenge game. They only got him 2 passes. I'm not interested in Cooks going forward. He's going to be way too high priced. Going to the Saints. Drew Brees, look at there. I guess he hit his floor at home, huh? Must have done that late because I thought he was a little bit off. But either way, let's see who he found. Because this is the stuff, and this is why I go through and I'm trying to peg some of these games. I want to see if what happens what I thought it did because I didn't take Breeze in any of my lineups last night. Ingram and Peterson splitting carries. Screw it. Michael Thomas, 5 for 89. Brandon Coleman, 4 for 82. 3 receptions, 4 receptions, 3 receptions. Just what Breeze always does. Good luck picking the guys with the touchdowns. They're the only ones typically bringing value because the love gets spread way too thin. Naked Breeze at home. So that's what we learned there. Browns Ravens. Ravens D was a lock for defense last night. Deshaun Kaiser, 3 picks. He's a rookie. I don't really need to know much else. Crowell got some carries but got game flowed out of it. What in the passing game means anything to me? Pretty much nothing. Rashard Higgins, maybe a name to pay attention to going forward. That would be one sneaky little play if he averages, 7, 8 targets a game. I don't know if he will or not. Flacco, he was cheap. We didn't know that he would chuck it 34 times. He did. That's great. If we'd have predicted that, maybe at home he was more playable than we thought. Buck Allen, I heard people say Buck Allen, they were surprised that he was so low owned. Come on, man. You had Tariq Cohen, Jaquiz Rogers, Ty Montgomery. You had Melvin Gordon. You had all these guys on the slate that were going to be your chalk running backs. Buck Allen, of course, he was going to slide under the radar. If you thought Buck Allen was going to be chalk, you need a checkup from the neck up, man. Now, what we are finding, lead dog, screw Terrence West, Buck's getting the carries. He's also getting targeted in the passing game, so he's got himself a PPR floor. He will be somebody worth considering going forward. Jeremy Maclin, 2 games in a row with a touchdown. That helps, but, he's getting targeted. I like to see that, and there's your tight end. Flacco loves his tight end. Who was it last year? Dennis Pitta? So keep an eye on Benjamin Watson. These are good, cheap guys that nobody else in the world is going to be thinking of. And if they happen to be a favorite receiver of a quarterback, you can play them in weeks 3, 4, 5 when everybody else takes 6, 7, and 8 to catch up. Get ahead of the curve, man. Get ahead of the field. Let's see. Eagles and Chiefs. Kareem Hunt, real deal. Carson Wentz, shocking on the road. This kid is not having a sophomore slump. He's progressing, and he might be something pretty doggone good. We look down, and looks like Darren Sproles is going to be their lead back, and they've said as much. Zach Ertz is Carson Wentz's favorite target. Alshon Jeffrey had a nice day. I think he's going to be a little more up and down week to week. Torrey Smith wasn't a complete non-factor. Nelson Aguilar was, if it wasn't for that last little touchdown there. I'd like to see him a little bit more featured. I really like Aguilar, but he needs to get weekly targets over 1 or 2 or whatever the hell he got. Naked Wentz might be going to be a thing, or stacking with Ertz. I don't see really much else. Alex Smith is what we thought he is. He's not a 300-yard QB. He's not a 4-touchdown QB. If you fell into that trap, God, I fell into it last year. I wasn't going to fall into it this year. He may have 2 300-yard games in his entire system per season, and in fact, the statistics tell you that Alex Smith has only thrown 1 300-yard game per year for like the past 3 years. So you got it in week 1. It's time to put Alex Smith on the shelf. Kareem Hunt seems like the real deal. He gets the usage. He also gets targets. He's got a floor. If the kid's breaking touchdowns, it's great. He's got that home run ability. I saw it. I watched the game. Tyreek Hill is the other one. Other than that, well, Travis Kelce. But Kelce's, I don't want to say he's super consistent, a little bit up and down and whatnot, but, 8 for 103 and a tutty, that's not bad against what was supposed to be the number 1 ranked DVP defense against tight ends. Once again, don't overvalue matchups. Yeah, you want to stay away from the elite defenses at a position, but it still is football. If a team decides to feature a guy and go volume, he's kind of just going to have a good day. That's why if they hand the ball to Zeke 30 times a week, hand the ball to, which they didn't, hand the ball to LaShawn McCoy 30 times, these guys are going to get their numbers, even against really, really good defense. Volume in the skill positions outside of quarterback, volume trumps matchup. Just file it away. Chiefs defense at home, also playable. Titans, Jaguars, Leonard Fournette. A little surprised the whole shiftiness here. I didn't think these guys were going to show on the road like they did. Derrick Henry might be taking over for Murray. At the least, we might be having ourselves the committee everyone's been predicting. Sun may be setting on DeMarco Murray for fantasy purposes. due to his price and his name. Derrick Henry, I don't know if he's worth coming on yet, but he's certainly worth looking at and paying attention to. Delaney Walker still. Rashard Matthews gets targets, whatever. Again, on the road, wasn't a great situation. I was surprised by the score. Jump over to Blake Bortles and his multi-pick game. He will have a greater than 1-to-1 pick per TD ratio this year. I'm sorry, the dude's just incompetent anymore, which they're going to really rush Leonard Fournette when they don't get game flow out of it. That's obviously their game plan. They were being honest with all of their news and media releases. Good for Fournette. Watch game script. Bad when he's coming from behind. Good when he's in the lead. I mean, week 1 versus week 2, am I right? Trash. I mean, yeah, you got to throw the ball to somebody, and it looks like they had some okay days, but I need to see another week of that because, again, they got pumped targets. If Fournette's getting the action, Lee and Hearns aren't. So maybe in game script situations, this is what I'm filing in my memory as I'm talking out loud. I'm going to, in positive game scripts, probably look at Fournette. Negative game scripts, I might look at Hearns and Lee. I didn't want to in week 1 because I didn't trust anything. Jags D seems solid. Jets Raiders, good. Michael Crabtree, have a day, huh? Really thought they'd use more Marshawn Lynch. Jets, let's not even talk about the Jets. Other than maybe a little Javon Curse, and I just crapped on myself. Sorry for that bad click, guys. Back into Jermaine Curse. Okay, 2 touchdowns. I wanted to see his targets. That's why you gotta go back and see his volume. Touchdowns are pretty unpredictable. Derek Carr, nice touchdown day. Didn't have to throw for a lot of yards. Here's your freaking committee. Yes, Marshawn was the lead back, but we've got a 3-4-headed monster committee. I'm off of it. I took a chance last week, thought with a 14-point spread it'd be all the beast in his hometown and whatnot. Doesn't seem like that was the case. So guess what? Scrap it. Crabtree is going to be the focal point in that offense in the red zone. Sorry, Amari Cooper, you dropped a bunch of balls. Michael Crabtree obviously caught 2 of the ones that he got thrown, and he scored 1 from just outside the red zone. So you can go tout Amari Cooper all you want. Amari Cooper is going to be a very up and down roller coaster GPP play. Crabtree's your cash play out of this offense. If you don't believe me, talk to me again in week 10. Defense let us down a little bit at home. That's not right. That's way too far down this list. Dolphins, Chargers. Sorry, like I said, it's a little impromptu that I'm doing this. And I'm trying to rush through it just to hit the high points. Cutler, no picks. What a surprise. I actually thought he'd throw a few. Jay Ajayi, another high volume guy. 28 carries, guys. And a couple of targets. 30 touches. Dude, look for positive game script. Look for them to be favored. Don't look for them to come from behind on the road because you're taking a little bit of a chance for cash games. Probably always tournament viable because we know he can bust off a 200-yard day. He's a home run hitter. But it looks like he's getting the volume to be cash safe in maybe 2/3 of the situations they're going to find themselves in this year. So keep him on your radar. Don't let him slide underneath it and forget about him. Jarvis Landry, this I loved to see. I didn't like the 6-yard average. 13 receptions in a PPR format. Jarvis Landry. After a few weeks of watching Cutler force it to Devontae Parker, we got what we wanted to see. He's going to do that, but when he's in trouble, it looks like Jarvis is getting the play calling, and Jarvis is going to be getting the short hot routes and all that sort of stuff. And if Cutler can use that, then Landry's very, very cash playable in a lot of situations, especially tiempo de garbage. When he runs into garbage time, there's your boy. Rocking and rolling, Chargers. Phillip Rivers was cash playable at home, 331 in a TD. Boink. Easy pick for that price. Melvin Gordon does what he always does. Sometimes when he doesn't get volume, he still pops a touchdown and kind of saves his day. 9 carries, yuck. How many targets are we sitting on for him? Melvin Gordon, 7, thank you. 16 touches isn't terrible. I mean, I'd like to see a few more of this, but he's going to be their goal line back. He's got no competition. He's their feature back. So he's playable in most situations, and yesterday had himself an okay day. Keenan Allen, we knew this one was going to be a good one. Hunter Henry looks like he's replaced Antonio Gates. We knew Antonio Gates was going to try and get the record, called that as basically a TD lock on the day. It turns out targets were going to be the question before, and targets were the question after he got that TD. Looks like they kind of shut him down. Looks like they're going to let him get the record and ride off into the sunset, and we're ushering in the era of Hunter Henry. I need to see another game or so to prove it because I'm still worried that that's a tight end by committee. Tyrell the Gazelle had an okay day for his cheap price, but really what you're after is just keep hitting the big dogs in the offense, the ones you know the production's going to. This game sucked. Seattle, what the hell is wrong with you? Good God. Okay, there's nothing showing out here. 15 carries for our boy Hyde. And okay, but again, it's going to be kind of like catch as catch can. You're going to have to time it right. I'm not into timing shit. I want to see the home favorites do well, and I didn't. Chris Carson, see ya, Rawls. Have a seat on the bench. Chris Carson's your boy. Better pick him up on your season-long waiver wires. And it's not because of the 93 yards. It's because of the 20 carries. 20 carries speaks. Tyler Lockett, Doug Baldwin. You're supposed to be the lead dog in this offense. Dougie, where'd you go? Jimmy Graham, going back to fantasy irrelevance. God, just like he did last year, he'll probably have a few games this year, but he's not getting consistently involved in the game, which tells me everybody's on the Cadillac brand name, buy the polo shirt, buy the Louis Vuitton, whatever else. Jimmy Graham was Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham was 3 years ago. Get over it. Washington Redskins shocked the world. They went out west and beat the Rams. Rams still, they're a better team, there's no doubt about it, but they still aren't good. Kirk Cousins, disappointing as hell, but we'll give him a little bit of a pass. He was on the road. We'll see what he does when he comes back home next week. We'll see if he doesn't. He'll have some good years or good games this year. He's going to be probably in the top 10 of quarterbacks, which hopefully is what you drafted him for in your season-long leash. You didn't expect him to be some kind of MVP candidate, but he's going to have some MVP quality games. There's no doubt about that. Robert Kelly, look at this, 21 carries for Perrine. That's something to keep an eye on. See now, 3 for 77. Fluke. Doesn't mean that Thompson's on the radar. Touchdowns are unpredictable. Workload is predictable. Study the workload. Watch where these guys go to on the goal line. That's where your running backs come in. Touches, a few targets, goal line work, and a little third down involvement, and you've got yourself a creme de la creme running back. Generally, they're expensive. Jordan Reed got the targets. Jameson Crowder showed up. He didn't have a great day, but he at least showed up, got off the bus, and took his headphones off. Terrell Pryor, good Lord, where have you been? 2 weeks now. This is a wait and see until these guys kind of all, I don't know if it's Cousins not getting the ball to him. I haven't seen a game. I don't know if it's these guys not getting open. I don't know if they've played, Rams are a pretty decent defense. Philly's a pretty decent defense. So maybe there's a little bit of that in play here. But until when these guys come on, they'll probably all come on together. Looking at the Rams, I was a little surprised. Now, Goff doesn't surprise me. I think this is about what we're going to get out of him. A TD, a pick, a couple TDs, a couple picks, whatever, bouncing back and forth. Probably a pretty even distribution ratio. If he throws for, 15 touchdowns this year, he'll probably have 15 picks. But what we're seeing is, 200 yards, maybe 250 yards. I think he's finally got some weapons. I think the kid can progress. So I like to see that. Johnny Hecker, that's a fake punt right there. Didn't need to watch the game to see that. When the punter throws, it was a fake. Todd Gurley, 16 carries, 88 yards, and a touch. Got one out of the receiving game, too, I believe. Yep, 3 for 48. And this is another feature back. Now, finally, we got some yards per carry out of Gurley. Now, I hate to say it. I was writing him off last week, and his 2 yards per carry bashed him pretty hard on Twitter. Why? Because I'm a coward, and I don't know the guy personally, and he's not going to come over to my house and kick my ass. But this changes my mind a little bit. I might tweet him a retraction or something like that. If this dude 16 carries for 88 yards and a touch, 3 for 48 in the receiving game and another touch, Have a day, Todd Gurley. We'll watch him going forward when the Rams are home and favored. I don't see the guy, again, it's probably a situational type of thing. Tavon Austin, gadget play. What a wasted draft pick. He's toast. Cooper Kupp is your receiver to be watching, even though this 3 for 33 line doesn't look great. I don't know about Gerald Everett. I think that would probably, obviously, with a 31 average, busted a big one. Cooper Kupp's your slot guy. Sammy Watkins was being shadowed by getting the best coverage. It's only a matter of time before Sammy Watkins gets an ingrown toenail or turf toe or, has plantar fasciitis or twists something with his foot and sits for about 6 weeks until he kind of wipes the crying Jordan tears off his face. Cooper Kupp's the man in this offense. He's the one to watch. Keep your eyes set on that. And, Goff looks like he's going to progress. Packers, Falcons, late night hammer last night. If you did not, we said it all week. This was another one that got me. I saw people fading this game. I don't mind if you did it as a strategy for GPP purposes and you did it with, less than 10% of the lineups you're putting out there. That's actually really, really smart. And I love seeing people think. But I saw too many people doing this to think that that's what they were doing. I know a couple of people personally that is what they were doing, and I don't have any problem with their intelligence. This isn't directed at you. But if you were listening to podcasts and you were listening to people tell you that, it was debatable as whether or not you needed a heavy, heavy, heavy load of this game, you were listening to the wrong podcasts and the wrong people. You're listening to people with rocks between their ears shaking around. You're listening to people that ride shorter yellow buses than the normal long ones that we used to ride. It's insanity. This game had no defense and high offense in it, and you just got to take your chances that the numbers are going to play out, and they did. And this game being a late night hammer game had a lot of people thinking they were safer than they were rolling into it that watched their lineups do nothing but go backwards. Like they backed off of a cliff full of lemmings jumping over the side. I mean, it was just raining, backwards play on them. And then as far as the guys that did have 2 or 3 guys from this game coming in cash games or in your tournaments and stuff, you could be well behind the pack. And this game happened and you just shot up like a rocket. I made a colossal mistake because I was doing my Draftkings lineups first this week. I was really loading up on this game. And then when I got over to Fanduel, I made the dumb mistake. So, I ride short buses too. Let's not disparage the whole world. I'll poke fun at myself too. I'm not Sheldon Cooper. I'm not super smart here. But, when I was debating between the short bus to get on to school in the morning or the long bus, I obviously chose the short bus because on FanDuel I decided I'm going to load up on Marshawn Lynch because he's more of a TD dependent guy, and I'm going to start fading a little bit of the Melvin Gordon and the Ty Montgomery, and I'm going to kind of do a little bit away from some of the PPR stuff, so this game's going to have a lot of passing in. I'm going to go towards a little bit more run hit. I got too cute, and way too cute for an ugly guy, I'll tell you that. But I got too cute. And the bottom line is it cost me on FanDuel where I bricked all 3 of my lineups. Now, granted, I more than tripled up over on DraftKings, where I put in whatever it was, 30, 40, 50 bucks and came out with 150 last night and had a day on Fantasy Draft, the other site that I play as well. But I completely bricked on FanDuel. And I hardly ever do that. And I looked at my lineups and I looked at why, and it was because I kind of counterplayed myself. Instead of diversifying a lineup on DraftKings and then doing what I was doing on DraftKings over on FanDuel and then diversifying in maybe one lineup, instead I had 4 or 5 lineups out on DraftKings and then came over to FanDuel and diversified in all 3 lineups like a mooktard. Looking back at it, it was colossally dumb. It's okay to take some Lynch over there because he's fantasy or he's touchdown dependent. But damn, don't fade this game as a result. All right? That just, we all learn, we all correct. Again, that's why I walk through this every morning and kind of check the box scores. And so I'm just reaffirming what I think I know and some things pop out at me. So we know what we know about this game. We know Aaron Rodgers, I'm actually surprised. He had a great game. He had a much better game than he should have had. It's Aaron Rodgers, I get it, but on the road his production is suppressed. It was looking bad in the first half. I was feeling good about fading Aaron Rodgers, when it all came down to the end of the day, outside of maybe one tournament lineup for the just in case. But as it turned out, he was cash safe, so I'll eat a little crow there too. 340 and 2 TDs, big props, good game. Monty helped that with his 10 carries and his 6 receptions. Kind of balance that thing out. You got a couple of other guys that look at this. It's Monty or bust for now in the rushing game. So when you see a heavy favorite, a heavy game flow game, that's great. But Monty's still playable when you got the game script that's negative, because he's going, if it flips on its head and it goes positive, guess what? He's your feature back. If it flips on its, he got a 3 yard rush for a TD yesterday. He's goal line. He's the goal line back too. But when they fall behind, they still use him. 6 for 75 and a touch. I mean, they still use him. Jordy Nelson hurt a lot of people. You get a pass if you played Jordy Nelson because he was in a phenomenal spot, a safe spot, and you can't predict the quad injury going down. I mean, he's been hanging, I guess, with Sammy Watkins and Sam Bradford and all the little guys that have all the little dinged up, nicked up injuries, the Danny Amendolas of the world, the Julian Edelmans. They must all eat at the same restaurant because they come out with the same disease, the same flu, a little bit of the injury bug, and it's a shame to see it happen to somebody. And there was talk of Aaron Rodgers looked so bad he was relying so much on Jordy and whatnot. Well, I don't know. 340 yards isn't too heavily reliant on Jordy. Just took a little while to make an adjustment. Devontae Adams looks like he's going to step up and take that role. Cobb's still your slot guy. If Jordy's out for a couple of weeks, I think that gives a big bump to Devontae Adams. Being that it was a late game, maybe we get lucky and the pricing stays low. Maybe the ownership because of Jordy was low heading into the game, and the pricing algorithms don't quite catch up and adjust Adams up to what maybe they should have done, because man, was he being used late in that game. So really and truly, 3, 4, 5 weapons. Martellus Bennett finally started catching some passes. But you know what's going to happen. The minute you start rostering Martellus Bennett, Richard Rodgers is going to get some goal line work. The fact that he's still showing up on the box score scares me a little bit. The time I roster Martellus Bennett, Rodgers is going to score 2 touchdowns and just tilt the shit out of me. That's just going to happen. So, get ready for it. Matt Ryan, 250 and a tutty. That's pretty disappointing. I know they went up big early and fast, and that took him out of the game, but 2 or 3 points in the second half would have certainly helped me more if he would have gotten 10 more points in that second half and put up a fantasy score of about 22 points. You were my cash lock of the week, and you're making me look really, really stupid right now. Even though his game kind of game flowed out, still, come on, Matt. Hurts. Devontae Freeman, it was the dude I faded. Thought this was going to be a shootout. Didn't think. I mean, I thought he'd have an okay game. Thought he'd be splitting a bunch of time and carries with Tevin Coleman. That one flipped on me too. 2 touchdowns really hurt. Almost let my season-long competitor back into that game on me. Julio, god dang, thought he'd be used more. Looks like Mohamed Sanu's for real in this offense. I like that. That's 2 weeks in a row of pretty heavy usage. I love that. Sneaky little number 2, little slot guy. Julio's going to get all the ownership and all the attention, and Matt Ryan and Julio are going to get all the stacks, and little Sanu slides in there as a nice little, maybe cash safe one-off for cheap. Get you some exposure to a high-flying offense. 2 receptions in a row for Austin Hooper. Not quite the factor we thought he was going to be until that changes. We're off of Austin Hooper. I don't care what the preseason showed. We got lucky in week 1. So all right, just kind of rolling through a little bit. Tonight's game, whatever, screw it. I'm not even paying any attention to it. This is a recap, not a prediction thing. You want to look at the guys that did the damage. Of course, Tom Brady, you probably had no problems cashing. Carson Wentz, not a lot of people were on him. He had a good day. Aaron Rodgers came up from oblivion. Drew Brees ended up having a good day. Trevor Simeon's catching my eye now. That was pretty impressive yesterday. C.J. Anderson's catching my eye too. That was pretty impressive yesterday. And where was Denver in the review? The Denver-Dallas game. Feeding Zeke only 5 carries is just dumb as hell. I don't care if he gave up or not. You force that sucker to eat. He tells you he's going on hunger strike. You tell his ass to stuff his face. I mean, that's coaching. That's not anything other than that. Derek Carr, Phillip Rivers, we knew was cash safe. So there's your quarterbacks in a nutshell. Your running back, C.J. Anderson, dude. Great. I didn't see it coming. I apologize to the guys on Slack that I was talking off of him saying I don't think he's cash safe. I should have put I don't think he's cash safe ... yet. because with 25 carries, dude's viable. Home favorite getting 25 carries, yes please. I don't care if he's facing a pretty good defense. Volume trumps efficiency when it comes to running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. Ty Montgomery, we knew. Todd Gurley, a little bit of a surprise. Kareem Hunt looks like a stud. Chris Thompson, whatever. 2 touchdowns, you lucky bitch. Devontae Freeman, Buck Allen. Buck Allen's worth an eyeball. Melvin Gordon, Carlos Hyde, see you. Whatever. All right, Jay Ajayi should be higher on this list. Fournette's going to be higher. Okay, so we know who our players are week to week. We know who we're watching now. Michael Crabtree, J.J. Nelson, Emmanuel Sanders. This one will be sneaky. Not a lot of people are going to pick up on him. Devontae Adams, Jermaine Kearse, whatever. Another 2 touchdown lucky bitch. Mike Evans, surprisingly, is hopefully back to getting 150 targets a year, 100 receptions, whatever else. Alshon Jeffrey, going to be up and down. Keenan Allen should be cash safe week in, week out. Game script dependent, Hearns and Lee. Jarvis Landry should be fine. Dez Bryant, that kind of surprised me in Denver as well. I'll go ahead and troll my buddy Keith with it. One trick pony, Dez. One trick pony. If you don't push off and get a back shoulder call, you suck. That's how he got his touchdown. And to be quite honest with you, I know there's highlights of him making great catches and stuff, blah, 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 blah. His bread and butter, the majority of what he does is in the red zone, run a fade, run a post, run an out, something like our corner route, whatever, and then turn around, look the one way, turn around, shove the defensive back to get his separation, and take the ball up the back shoulder where the defensive back can't catch it, even if he doesn't get shoved. Sorry, textbook play by Dez. It's brutal. I mean, ride the horse until it bucks you, but Jesus Christ, I mean, pick up another trick. Julio, Hogan, Brandon Coleman, watch him, I guess, at home for sure. Some of these guys, they're going to be up and down, whatever. Let's look for the tight ends. Look for the targets. Go ahead and sort by targets. Witten, hello, until he breaks down. Martellus Bennett, that's maybe a little misleading. Zach Ertz, Kelsey should get targets. Gronk will be up and down. Zach Miller, no. Benjamin Watson, I'm watching. Jack Doyle for cheap. Kyle Rudolph's going to be very consistent. We know who we're playing. All right, guys, let's look ahead really quick to week 2. I know I said 20, 30 minutes. Sorry it's going long. Hopefully you're getting at least a lot of comments, a lot of entertainment, a lot of recap, and it's moving fast enough for you. If so, hit me up with a comment. Let me know that you like this. I might do it every week. Who knows? Detroit and the Giants tonight. Not paying attention to that game. Some of the lines are already out for next week. Real quick glance. 42, no. 40.5, no. 40.5, no. 45.5, maybe. Chicago at home, Pittsburgh on the road. Sorry, Big Ben road splits. I'm off of you. Le'Veon Bell, God, I hope that's your week. Maybe a lot of people will be off of you. Maybe your price comes down a little bit. I really want to roster some Steelers, but Antonio Brown is going to be a little bit Big Ben dependent. Chicago's defense is not great. Their front seven is a bad matchup maybe for Le'Veon, so maybe that does get us a little bit. Ben to Brown, maybe Martavis breaks one. I don't know. It looks like a little bit of a trap scenario. Looking at it now, because it just doesn't feel. It looks like Vegas is telling us one thing, but it feels like with Ben's road splits, it could go another. So bear that in mind. We'll see how that one works out. Miami at home against the Jets. Jay Ajayi. That's all I need to know. Good Lord, that's all I need to know. Miami defense. Denver, Buffalo, 41 total, suckage. In Buffalo, too. Ugh. God, I don't even know if I want to run shady in that. That automatically is 41 divided by 2 is 20.5. 20.5 minus 1.5, 19.5 implied points for Denver. 21.5 implied points for Buffalo. Obviously, that will change, but 21.5 implied points isn't great for a running back, even if he is getting 30 carries. We're going to hear about a groin, and I don't know what to say about Buffalo. New England, 13-point favorites. Gillislee. Just calling it now. Gillislee. I may backtrack a little bit through the week, but I called it now. I called it early. I'm going to do a rewind on my own next week, whether I do one publicly or not, and I'm going to tell myself Gillislee should have been trusted. Promise you that. 43.5 total makes it what, 21 and 3/4, almost 22. Let's go ahead and call it 22 for each team. Subtract 7, that goes 20, 14, 15 points for Houston. 15 points for Houston, and 22 plus 7 is 28 or 29 for New England. Fire up the Brady, fire up the couple of the receivers, fire up the Gillislee, and fire up the defense. That's your cash, one of your cash situations next week. -6 Carolina facing New Orleans. Yeah, this game's gonna suck, man. That's just gonna suck. Nothing there. Atlanta favored on the road. That's okay, I guess. Philly favored at home. We'll see how the Giants do tonight. Low total Seattle. Tennessee's actually favored. It's going to squelch. Seattle defense still pretty good. Going to squelch Tennessee's offensive production. Don't trust Seattle's offense is going to do shit though. I don't know how much I'm going to want to be on Tennessee players playing Seattle. Kansas City favored over the Chargers out in LA. If you got Kareem Hunt season long, you're playing him. Tyreek Hill too, but man, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see how that one goes. Opening 8.5-point spread at home for Green Bay. Tymont. Maybe Bennett. I will probably run some Bennett and watch Ridge. That's where I'll tilt myself. I'll probably run some Martellus Bennett next week, and I'll probably get tilted off by Richard Rodgers getting one of his touchdowns. But if he gets 10 targets, man, I'm going to run his ass. Oakland at Washington. Sunday night hammer once again. If you don't have big pieces of this game, you're gonna regret it. Derek Carr is going to be chucking it. I don't think Marshawn's going to be much of a factor on the road. Washington at home. Let's hope Kirk Cousins bounces back and gets these guys on track. Looks like Vegas thinks it'll happen. Monday night game, really, once again, kind of no interest. It's a decent total and all, but no interest. All right, guys. If you like this, like I said, hit me up on Twitter at Choppadong. Hit me up on YouTube with a subscribe or a like. Throw me a comment or two in the Army. Let me know that you enjoy talking with me on Monday mornings, and maybe we do this again. This has been Choppadong, 45 minutes in and out with your Week 2 DFS breakdown and review, rewind, recap, whatever you want to call it. I'm out.